We know that headless CMS are agnostic with front-end frameworks, and provides the back-end layer. But what if a headless CMS provides more than that? In this session, our speaker will talk about Builder.io, and how we can use our existing apps and components in a visual low-code, no-code platform. Our expert is a senior developer based in the Netherlands, a Microsoft MVP, Auth0 ambassador, and one of the community leaders of Angular PH. Let's give it up for KPN senior developer, Mr. Seiji Ralph Villafranca.
Oh, sorry, I'm on mute. So again, good evening, everyone on in the Philippines, and yeah, good morning here in the Netherlands. So first of all, yeah, I would like to thank Softcon again for inviting me as a speaker on this event. And yeah, I hope you all of you guys will enjoy this session. And yeah, I think I will just share my screen right now. Okay, right, all right, all right. So yeah, once again, guys, welcome on this session, and yeah, we will be talking about basically on front end, but this is not the typical front end, you know. So first of all, yeah, I want everyone to be interactive, so meron tayong chat group dito, and yeah, if you have some questions and if you have some uh, other inquiries. So yeah, I can also answer that after this talk. So yeah, once again, welcome to our session. And right now, this evening, so I will be talking about an intro to Builder IO or Headless CMS beyond your visuals. So as I have said, I want this session to be interactive. And if you have any questions, and if you have some ideas on what I'm talking about rather, so yeah, you can also comment here. So makikita ko yan mamaya. So yeah, let's start. So I think everybody doesn't know me. So I'm Fidel Villafranca. So I'm one of the Microsoft MVP in the Philippines. And I am a Filipino developer based in the Netherlands. So I write code, I teach people, and as a developer, we always drink coffee. So yeah, I've been a speaker for Softcon for 4 years already, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, I'm always continuing to share my topics and knowledge in this conference. So yeah, I am a developer. So currently, I am a senior developer here in the Netherlands. So I'm working in the largest telco community here in the Netherlands, and also I am a community leader and a speaker. So I am a speaker in local and international conferences. So I've been speaking into different meetups, seminars, and workshops, and also international conferences around the world. And also, I'm a community leader in Angular Philippines. So even though I'm here in Europe, I still manage one of the tech communities in the Philippines, which is Angular Philippines. And also, yeah, I'm an author of a book. So I've already authored one book, which is Spring Boot and Angular. So all for those who wants to avail this book, so yeah, you can avail it in Amazon. So it's available, and currently it's on Angular 13 and Spring Boot. So for those who are interested in learning Angular and Spring Boot or a full stack web development, so yeah, you can avail out my book. So yeah, that's about me. And kaya tayo nandito. So let's talk about Visual CMS or Builder.io. But before talking about that, this is our talk objective. So the first objective that we have is what is Builder.io. So I want you to know what is Builder.io. So ano bang pinagkaiba niya when it comes to different CMS or other CMS in the market. And the second one is how. So how does Visual Headless CMS work? So Builder.io is a Visual Headless CMS. So I am not sure if you are familiar with this kind of term, but mamaya we will discuss what is Visual Headless CMS and ano ba talaga yung pinakaiba niya when it comes to other CMS that are existing. And lastly, we will put Builder IO into action. So later on, I will just have a quick demo kung paano nangyayari si Builder IO. How can we build a framework or front-end applications using Builder.io. So yeah. So next, CMS. So guys, I am not sure if we are all developer here, but yeah, can you tell me ano yung idea nyo sa CMS? So yeah, let's be interactive. So I will check all of the chat here. So sa tingin nyo, what is CMS? Can you explain it in a summary? And ano ba yung pagkakaintindi niyo or nagamit niyo na ba siya in your daily work? So yeah, we have a chat here guys. So I want to see your messages kung meron bang may idea. Yes, yeah, from Edgar. WordPress, easy front end. I like that answer. Yeah, kind of easy. So WordPress, yes, it's one of the CMS that is existing. CMS is a content management system. Yeah, true, tama. So like WordPress, Drupal, and EM, correct? Then yeah, I think you have all one answer. So I also saw an answer that nasan yun? Headless CMS. Yeah, so headless CMS is one type. So Builder IO is a type of headless, but another thing it's a visual headless. So yeah, allows non-dev user to easily manage content. That's correct. So all of your answers are correct. So yeah, CMS is basically a content management system. So yeah, based on Google, or if you will answer, or if you will ask ChatGPT, so it stands for Content Management System. It's a computer software and application that uses database to manage all content, and it can be used when developing a website. So yeah, from the word itself, content management system. So it allows us to manage the content of the site easily. So based on your answers, so it's an easy front end development at the same time back end development. So it's more of like a no code development. Sometimes CMS is a low code, sometimes but usually ang ginagamit natin is no code. So it's simply drag and drop. So we have a single platform na dinidesign natin yung application by using drag and drop, existing components, and it also has its own backend already. So that's CMS. It's like a platform that we can do our website on the fly. Right. So example, WordPress, Drupal, Wix. Contentful is also a headless CMS like Strapi. So ito yung mga existing CMS na in our market. So Wix is a CMS, Drupal also, and Contentful is a headless CMS. So later on, we will know the difference of these kinds of CMS. Right. So what we want in a CMS? So sa tingin nyo, sa mga gumagamit ng CMS or nag-utilize ng content management in their everyday work or sa mga CMS developers, what do you think are the things that we need to improve in a CMS? Or ano pa yung mga features na gusto nyo madagdag sa isang CMS? So I also want to know your answers, guys. So because in my experience, I've been using CMS in my work. So meron kaming Strapi, which is a headless CMS. But there are some parts that I need to want or I want to improve in this kind of CMS. So ano ba yung sa tingin nyo na pwede pang improve ng mga existing CMS like Wix, Drupal, or even Contentful or WordPress? So yan, I want to know your answers, guys. So sa tingin nyo, ano yung mga pwede nating idagdag na features? So let's think, I guess. Yan. Wala pang nakakaisip. API call? Yeah, I think. Yeah, it's for headless. Okay. So, other answers, guys? Wala kayong naisip? So, like for example, sa WordPress, meron ba kayo naisip na pwedeng idagdag? Alright. Okay, open source. Okay. Good answer. That's mobile app development. So, more of like, mas maging framework agnostic siya. Scalability, yeah, that's a good answer. I like the answer for mobile app development. So it's more of parang mas maging flexible pa yung CMS natin right now. Wix it's for responsiveness, but for native, I think it's not yet supporting the native one. Good UI, yeah, that's true. I think good UI and UX para magkaroon tayo nun is mas maging flexible pa, mas magkaroon tayo ng control over dun sa front end, right? But at the same time, we want to have a control over on the front end, but we also have to have an easier control over it. So, ayun yung mga gusto natin mangyari. So, yeah, built-in customizable page layouts. That's a very good answer because I think Builder.io can achieve that. So open source support, yeah, for analytics. So yeah, I like the answers. So this is what I want for CMS also. I think we have the same answers. So the first one is being flexible. So choose only the pages or sections you want to modify with the CMS. So what does that mean? So for example, in a WordPress. So in a WordPress, we have a single platform, right? So we are editing all of the pages using that single platform. So wala tayong, yeah, we can edit it. We can do the drag and drop. We can do some custom components na pwede nating i-drag. But the thing is wala tayong fully control over it. So everything that we see or every components that we see that we are creating in our WordPress, hindi natin siya makontrol. Why? Because we are coupled in that kind of platform. So hindi natin pwedeng gawin to, hindi natin pwedeng gawin tong component na to uh, as a modified code or as a custom code. So lahat ng bagay na ginagawa natin is nakakouple dun sa isang page or dun sa isang application. Right. So the next one is framework agnostic. So what does that mean? So we can use any front-end framework and data source you want to integrate. So actually, in WordPress or sorry, in Contentful or Strapi, it's an headless CMS. So it's actually framework agnostic. So we can select any frameworks that we want. So for example, we want to use Angular, we want to use Next.js, or right now we want to use Quick. So we can actually use that in headless CMS. So that's framework agnostic. So we want to have a control over our application. Then third one is reusable. So we want our existing components to be used and applied in the CMS. So let's say for this example, so I have an existing project. So this project has a large code base already. So gusto nating ma-apply ng CMS to. And we want only some parts of the sections. So we also have our existing components, right? So in our case, for example, we're using single page application like React or Vue. So meron na tayong mga existing components. But we want these components to be registered in a specific CMS. And sometimes we just want that component to be drag and drop. So may mga times na ganun. So we want these components to be reusable. And we want this application to be easily integrated into the CMS. So that's reusable. And the next one is easy collaboration. So it allows team members to easily integrate their design. So actually, the CMS or content management system, so it allows also non-developers to interact with the code base. So wala silang nakikitang code, pero pwede sila mag-edit, pwede sila suggest kung ano yung mga dapat nila. So that's easily collaboration. So ito lang yung isa sa mga gusto natin sa isang CMS. And I also see other stuff like in mobile development and open source API and analytics. So there's a lot of things that we want to improve. Right? So yeah, that's content management system. So I know you are familiar already what is content management system and madami nang lumalabas sa market. But right now, we have a new thing what we call builder.io. So what is builder.io? So is someone familiar with builder.io before I continue? So meron na bang familiar sa inyo guys? So meron na ba? Did someone use this already or kahit man hindi sa daily work, have ever had someone tried this para naging curious kayo? It's kind of popular. Bakit? So if you are familiar with Quick.js, so the creator of Builder.io is also the creator of Quick. And another fact is the former or one of the creators of Angular is also the creator of Builder.io. So that's where it came from. So, may nakagamit ba sa inyo? Or meron bang naka-encounter na kung ano yung purpose ni Builder.io? So, I think wala pa. Wala pa yata. So, I think that's good. So, this is our first time. This is my first time to introduce Builder.io to you guys. So, right. So, not yet. All right. Wala pa. So, okay. So, Builder.io is just also a content management system. So, again, from their website, so it's a visual headless CMS it connects to your existing site or application and enables anyone on your team to create, manage, and publish high-performing enterprise-scale digital experiences without constantly relying on developers. Okay, so yeah, you will ask me, Sir CG, what the heck is Builder.io? It's just a same content management system. What's our purpose to transfer from Wix or from Contentful to Builder.io? So it's a headless CMS. It's the same with Strapi. But the thing is, it has an additional feature, which is its visual. So based on the description or based on this sentence, so it allows us to manage, publish high-performing enterprise-scale digital experiences without constantly relying on the developers. So, in an existing site. So, yung mga existing site natin, pwede natin i-integrate sa isang CMS. And not just that, we're not just integrating the API. We are also integrating the components that are already present. So, mas maintindihan nyo to, I guess, later on kapag dinemo ko. Right. So this is the site. So if you want, kung di kayo makapaghintay with this talk, so you can actually visit. So it's builder.io. So you can already check the documentation how it's being used. Right. So yeah, traditional versus headless. So this is actually the debate, or this is the one we want to compare. So ilabas muna natin si visual headless. Ano yung pinakaiba ng traditional versus sa isang headless na content management system. So you are already familiar with that because I already saw your answers. So traditional, this is the example of WordPress, and headless, this is the example of Contentful or Strapi. So what's the difference? So for traditional, so I think this is the most common type of content management system that we are using. So the CMS code is tightly connected with your templates and custom code. So the load is on your website is very high, and the CMS code is exposed on the public server. Okay, so this is like the summary of architecture of a CMS or a traditional CMS. So all of your front end templates plus your code and plus back end UI, it's fully controlled by the CMS itself, and it has its own web server, database, and infrastructure. So if you will look at the architecture of a one CMS or a traditional CMS, it's very tightly coupled. So the user or the developer doesn't have a full control over it. So there are major limitations in this kind of um, CMS. So what about headless? So headless, so the API, it makes the content available through any channel and on any device. So you can also write your website or mobile applications using any programming language, and it provides higher security and much easier scalability. So to summarize yung mga bullet points, so if you have encountered already, if you have used CMS or headless CMS already, just like Strapi or Contentful, so our front end, it's not fully tight or it's not fully coupled on our application. So it's may have a freedom of choosing ano yung programming language or ano yung front end ng application natin. And this CMS, it just exposes the API. So the API will have some authentication, authorization, and even have access to the data itself. And also, it will also have its admin page to control the data and content that we want to see in our front end framework. So that's the good thing about headless. So at the same time, the security, since we have a full control on the programming language or the framework that we have or this application that we have. So this is the summary of the structure and the architecture of headless CMS. So you can see uh, we have our own code, and the CMS itself, it just exposes the API and the backend UI. So yung API is yung magkakaroon ng bridge, or ito yung nagbibigay ng bridge sa atin to access the data in our application. So we can also have third-party app plugins like voice assistants, chatbot, and desktop applications, and even smartwatches. So it can expose everything. It can expose the data itself. So other um, other hardware or other devices can even connect. So that's the good thing about headless CMS, right? Right. So where does IO comes into picture? So meron na tayong headless CMS. It actually solves that problem, which is the tightly coupled CMS. So what's with Builder.io? So the first one it visually builds your existing design system and code components. So uh, if you will compare it to a headless CMS, so si headless CMS, yes, it has the capability to give full control of the developers, but if you have existing components, if you have existing web components on your front-end application, so you cannot actually reuse it. So yes, you can reuse it, but you cannot do drag and drop, or you cannot integrate it to the CMS itself. Number two is create and manage content and experiences without constantly relying on developers. So same from other CMS. But for example, we really want to have a custom code in a visual headless CMS. So yung custom code na yun, it can be also used by non-developer as well. Compared to headless CMS, so yung custom code na yun is only for the developers. So they cannot reuse that. So that's the good thing about visual headless. Number three, it's agnostic. So it works with any front-end and back-end. And number four, it's an API-based infrastructure that is native to your tech stack. So it's still related to a framework agnostic. So that's the good thing about Visual Headless. So kung i-imagine nyo guys, so parang pinagsama yung best of both worlds ng isang coupled at isang traditional or coupled at isang headless na CMS. Why? Because you can still do drag and drop, and at the same time, you can be framework agnostic on your application. So I think magulo pa rin sa inyo kung paano nangyayari yun. But I will show you later on kung paano nangyayari yung best of both worlds ng isang traditional at isang headless. Right? Okay, so how does it work? So I think this is still, this will be still confusing to you guys. I want you to show it on visual. But right now, paano ba siya nangyayari? So yeah, let's look at this architecture that we have. So for example, we have some different backends like Salesforce and Yotpo and other API as well. So we have some API providers. So that's all of our backends. And sino ba yung tumatawag ng mga APIs? So simply, it's our front-end framework. So it's, for example, we have Nux, we have React, we have Gatsby, Next, Vue, or any framework or any front-end framework that you have. So that will call the API that the backend is providing. So let's look at this area first. So that's the normal way that we are doing. Then the next one is we deploy it into the several cloud services. So for example, we deploy it on Azure, we deploy it on cloud, or we deploy it on Amazon. So that's the typical architecture that we have. So where does builder.io comes into place? So builder.io comes in the middle. So how does that work? So in builder.io, may capability siyang magtawag ng API itself. So for the front end. And bakit hindi siya sumakop or hindi niya kinover yung all of the spaces? Why? Because still, we can call the APIs directly to our front end. So, as I have mentioned a while ago, we can only select the sections that we want to be controlled by builder.io. So that's the concept of builder.io. So if you want our front end and back end to be involved or to be controlled by builder, so that's the place where we want to only to integrate builder. So we have a full control on where CMS would take responsibility. So that's builder.io. So that's just the summary of this architecture. So the code that you are seeing right now in your screen, so makikita nyo na await builder.get and section. So it's not just getting an AP, it's not just getting data or a JSON or response, but it's also getting the page itself. So pwede rin gawin ni builder.io yun. Right? So, as I have said a while ago, you can decide which parts of your site builder, management, and which parts you want to maintain in code. So, it's best of both worlds. So, pwede mong ilagay yung front end and back end mo for builder. Builder can manage that section, but also there are some parts of the code that you just want to be managed by the developers itself. So, this is an example. So, ano ba yung mga pwede nating i-manage? So these are the sections that we want. So for example, you are creating a commerce site or maybe just your portfolio. So there are three ways on how we can make Builder.io, or we can separate Builder.io in our application. So the first one is visual pages. That is what we call visual pages, or Builder.io is taking full control of your page. So ano ba ibig sabihin nun? So lahat nung nakikita nyong components or lahat na nakikita nyong mga web components dun sa page nyo is being controlled by Builder IO. So just think of it just like Wix or WordPress. So sila yung nagko-control lahat ng page. So that's one way. So that's what we call visual pages. So the second way is visual sections. So visual sections, meaning we are only controlling, or Builder IO is only controlling some sections of your page. So as you can see in the picture or in the icon, so in this example, so nakikita natin na yung hero section lang yung kinokontrol ni Builder.io. Other parts like this list, it's not being controlled by Builder.io, but it's only controlled by the developers itself. So that's visual sections. And lastly is which is structured data. So structured data is like headless CMS. So we are only controlling the data that we want to see in the user. So we are not controlling any HTML, we're not controlling any front-end components. We are just controlling the data of the page with Builder.io. So for example, yung mga menu items natin or yung links or yung tab links natin is si Builder.io lang yung nagbabato. But component-wise, like for example, the header, the hero, or the cards, it's not being controlled by Builder.io. So it's only the data that we see only is being controlled. So that's what we call structured data. So these are the three types on how we can separate the responsibility of a developer and Builder.io. Right? So yeah, this is an example of creating an e-commerce app, guys. So isa to sa mga parang uh, way on how we can architecture or how we can architect rather an application with a builder at IO. So dito natin hinahalo or dito natin sineseparate yung mga uh, responsibility ng isang developer at isang CMS. So for example, we are creating an e-commerce app. So this is the home page. This is the collection pages, product page, card promotion, announcement bar, and navigation link. So ano ba ibig sabihin yan? So just to summarize, so yung mga naka-highlight lang na sections, so ito yung kinokontrol ni Builder.io. So for example, in home pages, we have some kind of products, mga featured. So it's being fully controlled by Builder.io. So you don't have to worry in that. So for example, there's a non-developer or there's a marketing team that would want to update that. So you don't need to care about that. Developers doesn't need to care about that. And also for collection pages, for example, the hero. So it can be the hero section is the one that we only want to control by Hero IO. And same with the product page. So the products, the product list, that's the only thing we want to be controlled by Builder. And for card promotion, so the card promotion will only control the list or the promotion of or the list of cards that you have added, and announcement bar also, and the navigation links, which is a type of structured data. So this is just an example of how we can control, but it still depends on you guys on how will you structure your application using Builder.io. Right. So yeah, it's very easy to integrate Builder IO in different frameworks. So I am not sure guys kung anong developer kayo, but I am pretty sure na almost all of the front-end frameworks that we have right now, or maybe famous front-end frameworks that we have, can be integrated by Builder.io. So we can integrate it with Quick. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but Quick is also the developer. The developer of Quick is also the developer of Builder.io. So you can imagine that how quick it is to integrate Builder IO with Quick. React.js also. It's also greatly integrated with React. Vue, Angular also it is integrated, and Svelte, and marami pa. So we can also integrate it in Astro, Hydrogen, Nux, then Next.js also for Gatsby. So pwede rin siyang integrate with that kind of frameworks. So yeah, it's very easy to install. And the good thing about this also is they also have automatic integration. So may ibang frameworks um, uh, na sinusupport nila yung automatic integration. What that means is you don't have to follow the steps on the documentation itself. They have their own schematics na siya na lahat bahala na mag configure or mag-set up ng mga dependencies we need to run builder.io. Right? So, yeah. So, the first thing if you are, for example, this is on React. So the thing that we only want to do is get your API key. So that's builder.init. So this is a sample code. So this is a snippet, but I will show you later on the exact or um, the step-by-step way on how we can integrate in builder.io on our application. So that's builder.init. Then we just, after installing builder.io/react, for example, we are using React. So we would just want to place the builder component, and uh that's the builder, that's it. So ano ba yung builder component? So that's a built-in component na kapag nag-drag and drop kayo dun sa builder component, so dun lahat mabibake or mare-render yung mga custom code natin or yung mga registered components natin. So that's it. That's how easy it is you can integrate builder.io. And this kind of example, this is visual pages. So visual pages meaning siya yung nagko-control lahat ng page ng isang application. Because you can see here na isang component lang. But if you want to be or if you want to integrate visual section, so component should be just a section. So for example, meron tayong mga header, magdadagdag tayo ng code dito, magdadagdag tayo ng footer. So that's considered a visual section already. Right? Okay, so that's it. So my talk was fast, but I just want you to also experience kung ano ba yung mga pinagsasabi ko kanina. I think it's still confusing, guys. Parang sinasabi niya na, ano ang pinakaiba talaga niya sa isang headless CMS? So bakit ba kami mag-shift? So I will show you a quick demo on how we can use builder.io. Right? Okay, I'll just share my screen. Full screen na lang. Right. Right. So in this example, I will be using Next.js. So I just use this folder. So I can show you just guys first kung ano ba yung mga um, ano yung mga framework na pwede siya. So yeah, you can just go to builder.io. So we have this one. So they have a lot of products actually. So we have Builder, Mitosis, Quick, and Party Town. But right now we are focusing on Builder. But yeah, if you want to discover, if you want to explore this builder.io, they have a lot of products. And yeah, all of their products are cool. And I've used all of them. So you can go to documentation. So you can see the docs here that what are the things or what are the frameworks that we can integrate. So let's start. Yeah, for the automated integration. So there are some frameworks that are capable to have an automated integration. So we will be using Next for this one. But if you want to have other frameworks as well without the automatic or automated integration, so we have a lot actually. Let's try here. Yeah, right. So these are the examples that you want. So quick start. So these are the frameworks that we can use. So you can see that there's a lot really. So there's Next, we have the app router. App router is also Next, but it's using app router. Quick, since Quick is the creator of Quick is the creator of Builder.io, React, Remix, Hydrogen, Nox, and many more. So there's a lot. So you can just follow this documentation if you want to discover other frameworks as well. But for me, I'm a React and an Angular developer, so I will be using React in this demo. So for React, so let's just have a new project. So I will demo. Okay. So let's create a new project React. Okay. So let's try softcon. Next. Yes. Okay. So let's just not use the app router. So yeah, let's just wait for a moment. I-generate yung application. So we are using Next.js. So this is also React. but we are using file routing on this one. So this is a meta framework. So I'm not sure if someone is a next developer here, but yeah, uh, this is the one we'll be using. So if you remember a while ago, so see Next.js, it has an automated integration for builder.io. So I don't need to do anything. The only thing I need to do is command a single command lines or a single command on my CLI. So what am I going to do is, so I have already my project. So let's open. So this is softcon next, right? So this is my next project. So I will not discuss that because we're not focusing on that one. So I will command uh, the integration for builder.io. So if I want to integrate next with builder.io, it's just npm init to builder.io at latest, right? Okay, so you can see that there's a schematics for builder.io. So would you like to integrate builder.io with this app? So yes. So this will just do everything for you. So you don't have to do anything, just drink a coffee and wait for it, and yeah, that's it. So you can now run your application. So yeah, builder.io also told that you just run npm run dev. So let's try. Okay, let's run the npm run dev. Okay, so it's now on localhost 3000. So let's try running this application. Okay, so this is now Next.js. So you can see that there's a menu for Builder.io. So that's just an overview. So if you see this page, so you are assured that Builder.io works for your Next.js. So this is integrate Builder.io Visual CMS with your site. So yeah, your app has been created. Now let's connect Builder.io so you can unleash editing and publishing content. So let's get started. Okay. So authorize access. So let's just authorize. So you should be logged in to builder.io. So I didn't show you the steps, but it's just for basic logging. So you get logging in. So you can just use your Google account or GitHub account. So that's just it. So we have already successfully connected our builder.io for our application. So ano bang ginawa niya? So the thing that I showed you a while ago. So the API key, if you remember. So it does everything for you already. So if you can see here on the pages, magkakaroon siya ng bagong page, which is dot page. So this is file routing actually. So makikita niya na meron na siyang builder.init dito sa part na to. So that's the API key that I have for builder.io. So I cannot show you that because that's an API key, but it's already on the environment. And we can see here that it has already defined the builder component. So this is an example of a visual page component. Why? Because we are fully controlling the data here. And in this case, sa part na to, tiniget niya rin yung page. So that's just how builder.io works. So this is just a visual page. So there are different ways like visual sections and structured data. But in this case, I will show you how this visual page works. So we have this kind of application already. So for this builder demo, what we can do, I'll restart. I will restart the server. Okay. So the example page, you can access it on builder-demo. So let's access first the route pala. So the root. Let's access both. So this one, so you can see here that this is the CMS itself. So kung makikita natin, kaya natin siya i-inspect. But this is running on your local. And we can see all of the components. And at the same time, we can open it directly on builder.io if you want to edit it. So this is in this route. So makikita natin yung mga components na pwede nating i-register. So this counter component, this can be created by you. So in the UI, that's the counter component. So this is created by me, or this is created by a developer. So this is just the counter.tsx. So if you want this to be reused, so oops. So kailangan lang natin i-toggle yung switch. So if you want this component to be registered in Builder, so that's registered already. So we can already use that in Builder. So this is where the magic happens. So this is the application itself. So we want to open it on Builder, right? And this is the visual CMS. So my local code, you can actually also do drag and drop. And in this case, this is a visual page. So anything can be controlled by Builder. So for example, we want to add some components like text. So we can actually add it there. So image, for example, just don't mind. So it's just an example. So we can add the builder, or we can add the component using the builder. The good thing about that is it's running on local. So you can still control that. So magre-refresh lang to ng onte. So pag nag-save, so mamaya mag-a-appear na rin yan. And the also good thing apart, so sinasabi ko kanina, the good thing about this one is may mga sections na gusto nating i-prevent to be controlled. So this right now, this is the builder component. So everything that you drag in that builder component, so this one, so lahat ng mga components na dinadrag nyo is napupunta dito sa loob. So for example, you created something like this. This is not controlled by builder. So still not refreshing. So kapag ginawa natin yun, so this is not controlled by builder. So let's try to restart. Tagal lang siya mag-compile. So for example, we have something like that. So this is not controlled by builder. So hindi siya maapektuhan nung CMS. So we are only defining the parts that we want to be controlled. And that's good because we have a full control over our page. So, for example, meron mga non-developers na nagko-control. So, we don't want that other components to be disrupted. It's out of their scope. So, that's how we can control it. So, hindi natin dapat ilagay doon sa builder component. So, that's how builder component works. And the next thing, the counter. So, makita nyo, itong code ko na custom component. So, drag and drop din siya. Draggable din siya doon sa application natin. So, we can see that this is just a component developed by me. But right now, we can also drag and drop it. So see, we can now use our custom components. So if you have an existing project that has a lot of components already that you want to use or you want to be used by this CMS, it can just register the component. Just click the switch on the root. So this is your root. So if you have 100 components that you want to register, just turn on the switch on builder.io. And that's it. That's how can you register your application or existing or new application to builder.io. So yeah, that's about my demo for that builder.io. So if you want to discover more, so the demo I did, it's only for the visual pages. But if you want to have a look on the visual sections, the structured data, so you can also have a look on that on documentation. They have a rich documentation on how can you configure, how can you set up this application. So that's how headless CMS works, right? So yeah, that's builder.io. So this is decoding AI. So how can I relate it? How can I relate this application into AI? So actually, AI is already being integrated or has already been integrated with builder.io. But how? So we have what we call the visual copilot. So it's a generative AI since it's Copilot. I'm not sure if you have used Copilot already, but it can generate code from your content entries. So saan manggagaling yung content nyo? basically from Figma. So if you are designer, if you have a Figma already, so it can actually generate the components for you. So it can import your Figma designs or created them in Builder. So from Figma, there's a generated code, then it will now sync it to your code base. So that's cool, right? So hindi nyo na kailangan mag-code or i-code pa yung mga components na meron kayo sa Figma. So that will help a lot. So yeah, for example, you have some designs. So nag-generate lang siya ng code and it will actually inject it into your code base. So that's how AI is being integrated on builder.io. So you can also try it out. So nandun din siya sa builder.io na website. Right. Right. So I think yeah, that's all for my talk, and I hope you liked it, guys. So it's kind of short, and other than that, so there are some references that I listed that you may like. So first one is developer quick start builder.io. So that's the documentation that we have. And we have also the visuals headless CMS, the what, why, and how. So if you are still, uh, you still have doubts on using visual headless, so I think this blog will answer your questions. And yep, an overview of 25 plus UI component libraries in 2023. So this is not related to builder.io, but these are the UI component libraries. So for all the front enders out there, so you can actually use this plug. Maybe there are some useful components that you can use in your daily work, right? Okay. So yeah. Um, once again, thank you guys for attending my session, and I hope you've learned a lot and continue studying the builder.io. And yeah, I didn't uh, that demo a lot because that's a lot. The builder.io is a very large application, and yeah, our connection doesn't stop here. So if you want to connect with me, I'm a mentor. So I'm CJ Ralph Villafranca. You can connect me on LinkedIn, and you can also connect me to my website, so cjvillafranca.com. Right. So yeah, once again, thank you everyone for listening to my sessions. And yeah, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to put your questions on the chat box. Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir Seiji. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. And now I think we have a lot of questions here in our on our Q&A tab. So let me just go through it one by one. Our first question is from Randy. Can we put the question on stage, please? From Sir Randy. So he said, "Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful demo. I can see that Headless CMS is flexible enough to allow us to repurpose our content endlessly on an unlimited number of channels. But I'd like to know if how secure is Headless CMS versus monolithic CMSs."
Yep. Thank you, Randy, for the question. No? Yeah, headless is more secure. Why? Because we have full control over it. So if I think, I'm not sure if you have used Trappy already. So meron din siya kasi mga authentication and authorization. So we can control that kind of security. And I'm not, yeah, for that back-end level, so that's the security itself. And pwede pa natin i-customize yun. So we also have control on the code itself kasi. For example, in Strappy, we have the code base itself. Eh. So the other layer is on how we deploy it. So that's more secure compared to for the traditional CMS. Kasi sa traditional, we're just riding on that platform. So that's the problem there. So in this case, we have full control. But it depends still on how you can define their security as well. So I think that's the difference.
All right, thank you. I hope, Randy, that answered your question. Another question coming from JC Makam. How is SEO optimization handled?
Same on how we handle SEO on our application kasi may full ano naman tayo, may full control naman tayo dun sa front end. So that's the same thing on how we handle it.
All right. Another question from still from JC. How does it handle content modeling? Will it look like data structure in document as you said earlier?
Yes, thank you, JC. So yeah, data structure. So some models, for example, we have our models. So the front end, So meron siyang binded na nakabound na frame na component. So it's also a JSON object. So it's the same on how we do in APIs. So ganun din siya hinahandle dun sa document. So that's how we handle it. So kung makikita, it's the same still in headless Strapi. So on headless CMS, so like Strapi and Contentful. So just the difference is pwede natin siyang gawin as a package also, but in just components. So more of like web components with the data itself. So that's how Builder.io do it.
Mm-hmm. All right. We have a question from Sir Anthony. Can it support getting data from external data sources like contents for a data table?
Yes, it can. Yeah, based on the architecture. So kung ano man yung backend nyo, kung ano man yung API, nagpo-provide ng API nyo, yes, it can. It can support external data sources.
Thank you for that answer. And thank you for the question, Anthony. Another question, upvoted question by Sir Eric Isaiah. I mainly used WordPress and thinking of learning a new CMS, either Builder.io or Strapi. In your opinion, what are the key points that makes Builder.io better than Strapi?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good question. So, sa Builder, i-compare ko ulit yung dalawa. So, si Strapi kasi is um, an headless CMS. So, it's more of like just controlling the front end itself. But wala tayong mga existing components. Uh, we have a backend, we have the admin page. The good thing about Strapi is it's also flexible. Si Strapi, for example, meron ka ng existing project, the only problem that is, wala tayong full control over the front end. Well, we have a full control over the front end, but for example, meron tayong mga existing components, we cannot use that. So for example, we want to have other non-developers to control kung nasan ba yung ganito or nasan ba yung ganitong component. So we cannot do that in Strapi. But they have their admin page. So tinaalis na yung concept ng WordPress, which is nakakapag-drag and drop pa rin tayo ng mga places. So that's what Strapi is avoiding. But in times, right, may mga chances din or may mga instances na gusto rin natin may drag and drop eh. So para magkaroon din yung mga other non-developers to have interaction with our code. Uh, that's where Builder.io kasi nag-take place. So kunyari, gusto talaga natin magkaroon ng ganong interaction with other non-developers as well. And meron tayong mga web components na existing na dun sa app natin. So the good thing about that is pwede natin siya i-reuse. So for example, gusto nyo may mga existing project kayo ng web components na gusto nyo siyang magamit pa rin even though we have a CMS already. So I think Builder.io is the best for this one. So siging ko app yung scale ng app siguro for enterprise apps or for large scale apps. I think Builder.io will be better for Shopee. But that's my opinion, guys. So I think that's my main comparison.
All right. Eric, I hope that answer helped you decide which to go after this, Builder.io or Strapi. Another question from Camille. How can we work with Builder.io offline?
Offline. Yeah. You can't because there's a public. Yeah, you can work with Builder.io offline. Kasi kung nakita niyo yung dinemo ko kanina, so you can only publish. It's using Vercel. Eh. Uh, yung Vercel is you should publish on your site. So kumo-connect kayo dun sa platform ni Builder.io. So everything is on the web app. So unfortunately, hindi pa. Hindi siya pwede.
All right. Thank you, sir. Another question. I think we still have a lot of questions, but let me go first with Sir JP's question. How do you organize this in multiple environment setup?
Yeah. Thank you, JP, for the question. So, meron din si Builder.io. So, actually, isa rin yun sa mga problem ng mga content management system. So, yeah, Builder.io also provides that. So, nandun siya sa dashboard. So, hindi ko siya na-demo. But there's an environment makikita nyo doon parang ano yung environments nito, for example, so sa test, so sa production. So pwede nyo siyang i-define doon. So if you discover the dashboard itself, if you study the documentation, so pwede kayo mag-define.
All right. I think, Sir JP, you could explore builder.io further after this. So, our next question from Sir Julian. Where are the components created via builder.io stored? Will we be able to manipulate those as developers?
Yes. So, meron tayong tinatawag na models dun sa builder.io. But if you want to manipulate that, so meron tayong mga built-in components from builder.io. Unfortunately, you cannot manipulate that, just like what we do in WordPress. But since we have the power to create our custom components, so still, yung mga registered components nyo, it will be stored on the builder.io itself. But since you're the one who created that code, so pwede nyo pa rin siyang i-manipulate. So that's why the custom components are there. So kung gusto nating meron tayong mga components na pwede nating i-manipulate as developers, so that's the custom components.
All right. Thank you, sir. Another question from Jay. How does the Copilot generated code look like? Is it still manageable in case you want to edit it and follow best practices? And is this free?
Yes, good question. So yeah, it's not free. Copilot is not free. So actually magandang question yan kasi yun yung talk ko bukas. It's prompt engineering with Copilot. So yes, as we have mentioned, yun, follows best practices. It depends on your prompts. So yan yung talk ko bukas. So well, we will not ayan, hindi tayo nagre-rely solely sa AI. Mahirap 'yun. So it's we are the engineers. So it's our responsibility pa rin to check. So yeah, I've tried it actually. So sometimes it's not accurate, but the good thing is, for example, nagpapagawa kayo ng components from Figma. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, may mga edits lang na may edit kayo na onte dun sa code, but it ano it reduces the time eh. So yung may mga boilerplate eh. So personally, I'm using Copilot because we are also our company is also adapting to generative AI. So labas tayo not just for Builder.io itself, generally for the code. So we are using it, but it's like a two-way relationship eh. So para kayong mag-partner. So how can Copilot understand you? So it's prompt engineering. So dapat malinaw din yung i-instruct mo sa kanya. So we're not just saying that, can you please generate me this kind of code? So we
Hmm.
are actually doing it like an engineer. So para kayong ano lang relationship. Pag di kayo nagkaintindihan, pangit yung result. So that's how it is, right? Yeah. So yeah, you can try. You can try, guys. Actually, hindi ko sure kung may trial si Copilot. I have a subscription, but let me know if meron. So masaya siya actually. But it's like ChatGPT because they're using the same codex. So
Hmm.
the OpenAI codex. And if parang nagkaroon ako ng introduction sa talk ko kahapon, sa bukas. So yung codex kasi is nagbe-base din siya sa mga code ng ibang tao. So it's public code, so mga open source code. So that's what happens in Copilot, right? So kumukuha lang din siya ng code sa iba. But it based on your semantics, on your language. So yun yung nangyayari sa kanya. So it depends on you also. Yeah.
Oh, guys, so that was an intro for tomorrow's talk. So if you want a follow up to today's talk and learn more about Copilot, you can check out his Sir Seiji's another session tomorrow afternoon. All right. Another question. I think we can still entertain two more questions, sir. So another question from Joanne. This looks promising. Would you know how big is the community of Builder.io developers here in the Philippines? And how easy or hard is it to get support for, let's say, our company would like to venture on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, ang creator ng Builder.io is si Miss Co Heavily. So I think there are a large community. I'm not sure in the Philippines, but dito malaki yung community nila even in US. Kasi siya yung creator ng Angular. And right now, Quick. So yung Quick, siya din yung creator. So that's why they have a very rich documentation. So kung gusto niyo mag-integrate with Builder.io. And I know they already have a community din eh. Sa Discord, ganyan na yung mga frameworks ngayon. Kasi ako, I'm a member of Angular itself also. So, sobrang ano nila. Yung mga ganyang companies usually, they are very, uh, ano sila, madali silang kontakin. So, so if you have some questions also, they have their own community as well. They have their forum. Then, in Ionic, for example, also, meron nga silang AI na sumasagot na sa lahat. So, yeah, I think they're continuing to grow in the Philippines. I'm not sure, but yeah, in here in abroad, they're starting. A lot of companies are using it already. So the documentation, I've used it. I've built one application using Builder.io, and I didn't have any problems when it comes to Builder.io. But yeah, I think if you run into some problems, I think that they will be reachable.
All right. Thank you, Sir Seiji. Um, okay, I think we have our last question. We can only entertain this last question. For all the other questions, guys, I advise that you chat with Sir Seiji na lang on air meet. He's still here also tomorrow pa, so but he'll be present naman in the platform to for or you can may reach him through his personal channels then that he showed earlier. But for the last question, from Sir Eduardo, does Builder.io provide version control for content and design modifications? And what is the process for reverting to earlier versions if necessary?
All right. Does Builder, so medyo mahaba yung tanong. Provide
Yes.
version control for content and then design modification. What is the process for? Yeah, kasi front end pa rin, nasa inyo pa rin. So it's on your control. So it's not Builder IO itself. So it depends on how you can versions. For example, meron kayong mga semantic if you have semantic versioning, for example, you have web components. So yeah, it still depends on how you can version. For example, in package JSON. So builder.io can still read that. So you can still have full control over it. So yeah, guys, so it's builder.io. It's just a middleware. Think of it just a middleware. So what we do on the code itself, it's still the same. So how we version things, how we do stuff. So it's like we just want some parts to be controlled by builder.io. But other for example, this kind of stuff like the standardizations, the versionings. So yeah, we can still do what in builder.io on what we are currently doing. So that's how it does.
All right. Thank you, Sir Seiji. All right, guys. I think that's all for the questions. But sir, just one last request. It's not really a question, but one last request. Put on the Q and A tab. Can you paste the links you showed a while ago to the chat so that
Yes,
we can
sure.
go
Uh,
directly to those links?
Yep. I'll just share my. Is it okay if I'll just share my
Oh,
presentation?
you can share your presentation also, sir. There's a resource tab also here on AirMeet, so they can
Okay.
also
Yeah.
access it there.
Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so
I'll just
so
share
you can
my.
access
Yeah,
it
it's
there.
online. Online naman yung presentation. So I'll share it for a while.
Okay.
Resource. Ayun.
Just the or you can just share the link of your presentation here on the
Yep.
chat, sir, if you want. I think that would be faster for them to access.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just share it na lang sa chat natin.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, that one guys. So may andyan yung mga references and yeah, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, nandyan naman din lahat.
Ayun. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, Sir Seiji, for joining us this afternoon and answering all their questions. And we hope to see you again tomorrow. But once again, guys, let's show our appreciation to Sir Seiji for this evening session and shower him with a lot of emojis. Once again, thank you so much for joining us this year's SoftCon. And we are looking forward to seeing you in the next few days. So that's the last session for today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye,
Right.
everyone.
Thank you guys. Bye.